Ladies and gentlemen, grab your gloves and get your compost ready. Stepping into the ring is the perennial powerhouse, the sultan of soil, the beast of the beds, where permaculture reigns, food grows wild, community roots run deep, and yes, the garden puns hit hard. Freedom starts in the soil. This is the Guerrilla Gardening Show.
Welcome back to the Guerrilla Gardening Show. As always, I'm Mike with Mike's in the Garden, back with Sam from Central Florida Abundance. What's happening, Sam?
What's going on, Mike? How you doing today?
Trying to forget today. But we're here now doing our thing, and this past weekend was our third annual garden party. And I love when people bring me plants, because I always tell people if they come to my house, they're more than welcome to leave with a plant. And if anything, I encourage it, whether I'm ripping up a sweet potato vine or many of the dozens of different random things that I'm growing out of pots.
I left with a loquat.
Left with a loquat. Perfect. That's like a 1.5-year-old loquat. So you're in pretty good shape there.
Yeah.
Dozens of moringa, avocados, lychees. But our friend Ralph says, for the guy who has everything, I figured I'd bring you this shampoo ginger. And you know what? I don't have shampoo ginger. So I figured, since I have it in the ground now, that we can talk about it and see.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited to see where you ended up planting that. That's good. You got it in the ground fast, though. You just got that 3 days ago?
Yeah. So it was in the
see.
ground. It was in the ground the next day. So this is downflow here. So we have our banana on the left, big papaya in the front, compost in the middle. So this is now incorporated into this banana circle, since where this shampoo ginger is here. That's where I had a banana casualty recently. But here she is.
Yeah, freshly planted. I mean, it'll be a little bit before we, see how it does. Those browning of the leaves is really just a symptom of it, being ripped out of its home and transplanted. But I mean, this is shampoo ginger, specifically the spiral ginger. I mean, it's a really hardy plant. Also, seems to be the trend here, a little invasive. So, it's easy to get established. It does like, moist soils, and it appreciates some shade. So you've done great planting it, in the low area of your yard here. And I think it's kind of under one of those tall trees that cast a little bit of shade on it.
Yeah, the papaya is providing quite a bit of shade too now, so that's great.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So, any concern with these grasses here?
Well, I mean, at this point, no. But, as they grow, you don't really want to grow the ginger in the lawn, because you won't be able to easily control the height of the grass. The grass will grow all around it and may not affect the ginger, but you'd never be able to mow the grass or weed eat it without, hitting the ginger and damaging it. So really, weeding in a lawn is awful. So I would just keep mulching. What'll really be the thing. So I don't know how much ginger you've grown. So we're just going to go through the life cycle of it. Right now it is late summer. So this is the time when the ginger is going to flower. An established clump's going to have its conical flower heads come up. The shampoo ginger we'll get into, its flower heads are amazing. We'll talk about that later. But, it's going to produce those cones, flowers, seeds, and then all of the top the all the green leaves are going to die back, and they're going to go dormant over the winter time. All of the energy is going to be stored into those ginger rhizomes that we like to use, and then it's going to sit there over the winter. In the springtime, it's going to, come back. That rhizome will have grown over the winter, and so you'll end up with more leaves than you had the last year, as long as you don't harvest. So with this plant, right now we want the rhizome to get established in the ground. That top part's all going to die. And then in the spring, we want to make sure that the new emergent leaves have space to emerge. We don't want a bunch of plants, growing on top of that area, because that would make it a lot harder for the leaves to come up and get sunlight. That's usually the main thing that'll, kill your young gingers in the spring, is just not having room to come up.
So when you say the top part will die off, we're talking like
everything above the ground.
Okay.
Yeah. You won't even know where it is, so you may want to mark it with a flag. That might be a good idea to keep track of it.
I do this a lot. Pro tip, walking the neighborhood when people throw away curtains, and I always take the rods, and then I'll use those rods as a way to stabilize a tree. So I have quite a few curtain rods hanging around my yard.
No,
but especially
really smart,
for shorter
They're
plants
strong,
like this,
yeah.
It gets started, nice and strong. It's not wood that's going to rot and then break at some point. So I just used those, most of the ones I had, to mark where I planted the Mexican sunflower cuttings.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So because I cut that up into 8 pieces. And
my gift to you at the garden party.
Yeah, so we'll
sunflower cuttings.
So we'll see. Hey, cassava 1 for 1. Pakistani mulberry 1 for 2. So I got a 67% success rate there. So yeah.
No.
But I did notice that we had some heavy winds yesterday, and this started to like tip a little bit. So I straightened it out, kind of compacted the dirt a little bit more.
If it wasn't already so late in the year, I would tell you to just cut the top off. Because really, so the leaves, you can see they're browning, and
they're going to die anyway.
Yeah. And right now, the root is trying to push energy into those leaves as well as establish itself. And so, obviously this root was grown, or this leaf was grown, when this rhizome was still attached to the larger piece. And then Ralph, took a piece of it off that had a leaf on. But that small root that's left probably isn't really substantial enough to even support this leaf on its own. If you cut it now, I mean, it's not recommended to cut it now. For
are these leaves still needed for photosynthesis, or?
They are photosynthesizing, but what the root is trying to do is withdraw the nutrients from the leaf back into itself.
Okay.
And I mean, there's something to be said about allowing the rhizome to just dry out this leaf. But what the leaf also does, so, the leaf photosynthesizes. That's one of its main jobs, is to produce energy from sunlight for the plant. It's the leaf's other main job is to expel water from the plant. So there's always water being perspirated through pores on the leaves. So when the root isn't big enough to absorb the amount of water that the leaf, normally has in it, the leaf's still going to expel water, and then it ends up expelling more, too much water, which could lead to like this shriveling that we're kind of seeing. So, I mean, making sure that it's watered like really well, saturating the soil is very important in these beginning steps. Um, Maybe, if you cut, so like this whole thing here is a leaf coming out of the ground, it's one leaf.
Mm-hmm.
And then the little things coming off the sides, I'm going to call leaflets.
Okay.
So if you cut off, a majority of the leaflets, but left like the leaf stem and, maybe one or two leaflets at the top, then, the plant could still photosynthesize a little bit, but it's going to be perspiring a lot less because you've removed a lot of that leaf surface. So maybe that's the way to go. I mean,
are they even perspiring when they are starting to brown and wilt like they are?
when they're wilting, they perspire less. The browning doesn't stop them. The browning is just the absence of chlorophyll. But the wilting is them trying to not perspire. And so, I mean, maybe just removing them.
Okay.
Shampoo ginger is one of those that like, it's so weedy that I never do anything to try to grow it. And that's probably why I've never been too successful with it, because my yard is not the ideal place. And so to grow it in my yard, I would need to give it some serious attention to get it established. And with what you got, I remember seeing this cutting and the rhizome was very small. So, definitely baby this one,
Okay.
give it daily attention, just
Yeah,
keep
it
on
needs
top
some
of
it
it.
needs some water today for sure.
Yeah. But then, the spring will be the real show. If it makes it, then you'll know for sure in spring. And then if it comes up in the spring, it's pretty much there.
So this green block that you see here, in case people are wondering, I probably need to add another block, but what was happening when I first started this whole area was everything to the left of this ginger, that compost, the banana, this is down sloping to the corner of my yard. And when I started putting plants in here, heavy rains would just wash away everything that was there. And so I just saw a video that was really interesting where a guy was creating swales from stones and was using like a stone pile on the contour. And then over time, it would trap all the sediment and then create like a step. And
Yeah.
that's not necessarily what I was trying to do, but I thought it was interesting enough. And
I was just thinking you should just mound soil on top of this. Because, I mean, really, you've got, like, what you've made is the skeleton of a swale, something to hold it together. It'd be better if it, like the stones allow water to pass through, and this kind of just holds it. The water can go underneath, so it's not a big of a deal. But if you were to, put soil on it, then it would really, it would absorb the water. And that's what helps, your low areas on the right of this image. And if you put the, soil on that same contour that stone is on or over the stone, then it would make the area to the left much more saturated over time because the water would stay in that area and soak in, which it does a little bit with this, but I'm sure that the water goes underneath that. And then once it hits the edges, it just spills out because it can't soak into the concrete.
yeah,
But I mean, doing something like this, putting a stop there, that does at least slow the water down some. So it's all about, steps. So you've taken the right first steps.
Now,
and
Sam,
start to turn into a little circle.
down here where, the stem here is coming out of the ground, I know this isn't like a tree trunk. So do I need to keep, dirt and mulch pulled back from the stem? Obviously, we don't want to bury it, but, is it as, uh, where that could be detrimental to a tree and can cause, all kinds of problems? Is that not so much the case with this?
Yeah, you're exactly right. So, really that with woody plants, with trees, you want to keep the woody mulch pulled away from the bark because things that eat wood that is decaying can also eat wood that is living. And so, if we have a woody mulch, we want to keep that pulled away from the bark of our woody plants. This is an herbaceous plant. It's got no lignin in it. It's got completely different sorts of organisms that, break it down versus the organisms that break down woody mulch. So we don't really have to worry about that. Now, and this plant specifically, gingers specifically, you don't really have to worry about them. You can kind of bury them because they like that moisture. And you want to make sure they get good drainage. You don't want them to sit in water because they'll rot. Like if the soil stays, like soppy wet for a long period of time, which I don't think your soil ever will. But typically you don't have to worry about that with gingers. They're kind of adapted to grow in the wetlands. Some herbaceous plants can rot more quickly, even though they don't have woody stems. The moisture is what kills them. But in the case of ginger, you can just, you don't really have to worry about it. Don't bury it, but it's not something you need to constantly be pulling the mulch away from.
Okay.
Now, if you made a mulch out of just ginger leaves, if you just mulched your ginger leaves all the time and had a big pile of them, I would not put that around your ginger because that would be the same concept. Things that will eat the dead ginger are going to eat the living ginger there. So you can kind of use, that's how I like to structure my chop and drop. For my production things, I don't like to drop the clippings around the plants that they're related to, just so I can, avoid the spread of any disease.
Okay. Well, I do have, excuse me, some other ginger. This is most likely like a friend gave this to me. It was already starting to propagate. It was just a, hunk of ginger with its, I guess, starts on them, I guess we'll say.
Yeah, little buds,
Yeah,
little buds of green.
Yep. And so these have been in the ground since February, maybe. And it is in a sunny area, yet maybe by 4 or 5 o'clock, it's shade.
So shaded from the evening sun at least.
Yeah.
And this one, this looks pretty established.
Yeah. Yeah, they actually look really good.
I would recommend not harvesting this winter. Just let it sit again, and then next year it's going to have a ton.
Okay.
But you do want to harvest like in the winter time. You can kind of harvest them whenever, but for optimal harvesting for the health of the plant and like highest nutrient density in the ginger, you'd want to do it once it goes dormant, because then the rhizomes have drawn all that energy down into the root.
Yeah. So when the leaves start to turn brown, that's really the time to harvest.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, once the leaves are gone, that's kind of the best time if you can still find it. But one thing we didn't touch on, so this is a culinary ginger. This is one where you can eat the roots. They're the ginger you get created in your spice bottles. The other one we were just looking at, the spiral ginger, the also shampoo ginger, its roots are, I guess they're one of those things that are edible. Technically, they won't hurt you, but they don't taste good. They're not palatable. But the reason we grow it is because the flowers that we talked about, those cones, are really the cones that the flowers form off of, fill with this sap from the plant. And I mean, that's where it gets its name from, the shampoo ginger. You can use it as a soap. It's got some antibacterial properties. People rave about using it in their hair as like a shampoo. I guess, that makes sense. It's slimy, but it actually smells pretty good. A couple days ago, I was at a client's house and they had a lot and I had an empty bottle. And so I squeezed a few cones in and I got like, maybe a cup out of 5 cones, but I didn't do it very well. But we'll use that, we'll strain it, and then maybe mix it with like some mint or, some of the other herbs we have. But you can grow different types of gingers with different uses. And you can even grow them in the same area as long as you can tell the roots apart when you harvest.
Yeah. So this is an area, these, you can't see the tops of them, but behind them on the recycled ironing board there, is I've got a couple moringas there, a couple plums, and a pigeon pea. So this is
nice.
And to the left there, that's a bunch of oregano coming out of that little pot on the ground there. So
yeah, and that aloe, you get those things in the ground or something, they're busting out of there.
I've got more aloe than I know what to do with. So, and creeping over that aloe is a dragon fruit. So, and endless abundance here. But I did try growing ginger last year and the year before. The first year, when you first start gardening, you go to YouTube. I like this guy. I like what this guy has to say. And, so it was recommended that ginger could be grown in a shallow pot. Okay. So I had it in a shallow pot, and within 6 months to a year, it browned and died. So when I pulled it out of the ground, it didn't look like it really did much of anything, or pulled it out of the pot rather. So not really sure what happened there. The second year I had a different type of ginger. I think I know where it is, but I have a feeling the sweet potatoes have overtaken it. And
yeah, they're pretty competitive.
Yeah. But even the ones I had, they were transplanted from the first year. I kind of got those at the end of the first year. So now that I'm in my third year, last year would be year 2, and I had transplanted those gingers. And at the time, it was clearly visible where it was. I knew exactly where it was. The sweet potato hadn't overtaken it yet. And now, I got to get out there and start cutting the sweet potato back, because
it started raining, and then it's like you blink your eyes and everything grows 6 feet.
Yeah. So
it can be hard. I mean, I think your plan would set some poles up near it, for these new ones will be really helpful in keeping track, because then you'll just know if I can't see the base of the pole, time to get this stuff cleared out of here.
Are there any other types of gingers that people grow here or utilize for food consumption or medicinal purposes?
Oh man, I guess I should have done some research before this. There's a couple types of edible ginger. And I'm definitely not an expert. My yard's a lot like yours. It's not really conducive to ginger, so I don't grow a whole lot of it yet. I'm trying to build some shade. But what is another plant that's closely related to ginger is galangal. And it grows very much the same. And you have that rhizome at the bottom that you harvest. It tastes a little bit different, but it's still very medicinal. A traditional spice in a lot of like Indian, I believe, dishes. And so, there's also turmeric, which is very closely related. Ginger, turmeric, galangal. You can kind of use all this advice from this episode for all of those things. They're all rhizominous, herbaceous plants that like or damp soils and shady spots. And then you're going to harvest them all about the same way. And then, I mentioned not wanting to use the chop and drop around the ginger, but the leaves from the ginger do make an excellent chop and drop, around the garden in total, because once they get established, they produce so much biomass. Once they're happy, they're, going to produce way more leaves than you really want. It's actually crazy to think about. If this takes off, this whole spot is going to be ginger. They'll be growing through your ironing board, all around your pots here. And, it's something that can be, if it's too much, you just harvest those roots, get all the roots out of that area, process them up, and then you can set it back again. But left to its own devices, once it's happy, it takes over.
Excellent.
So hopefully that'll happen for you someday, and then you can just start giving out all the ginger rhizomes.
Hey, that's the plan. Just keep propagating and spreading this abundance. What's funny, Sam, completely unrelated. I'm just trying to see if I even get a shot of it in this video. Next to where all this stuff is planted is your favorite crepe myrtle tree. And, you had, which I do think we should do a video on soon.
Probably.
You had asked me previously how many native pollinators I've observed on the crepe myrtle. And being out there every day, I've observed hundreds of pollinators to these crepe myrtles. I couldn't tell you if they were native or not. However, now that the native maypop flower is thriving and abundant, you were there,
It's everywhere.
hundreds of pollinators. I don't see any on the crepe myrtles.
Huh.
So to me,
that's an interesting observation.
It tells me that they're favoring this maypop 10 times out of 10, and that the crepe myrtle, and I've been hesitant to cut them down because I like the pretty flower. It was bringing in pollinators. So I said, there's clearly a purpose to have these things. But now that I'm incorporating more native flowers into my garden, I don't see a purpose to have them. And they're taking up valuable space where I could plant other things there. So
plant a fruit tree or something.
Yeah, that's going to be a project over the winter when everything dies back and I can easily get in there. I'm gonna take out your crepe myrtles, but not before we do a video on it first. So
absolutely, yeah. We should maybe do a video of taking them out, because that's a whole project in and of itself. But that's a really great observation, and I've never really even paid attention to the contrast. But I mean, that does put a small tick in the crepe myrtles box that, at the very least, since we're not planting anything to feed the pollinators anymore, at least they can get some nutrients, hopefully, from the crepe myrtles, even if they do prefer, our native plants. I'm trying to not be a hater.
Well, I don't know if you've ever seen videos of landscapers when they talk about the bad hack jobs that people do on they call them crepe murders.
Yeah.
And, I think if maintained and pruned properly, they can, they look great the entrance to a development. Um, probably better to have than just palm trees everywhere. So,
Also was a cabbage palm. I do want to clarify that that's a good point. Like, I don't hate crepe myrtles offhand. It was a hatred that was ingrained in me from them being the only tree that is planted anywhere in Florida, or really like the whole East Coast. Like, it's crazy. Like, they
yeah,
just cookie cut that tree everywhere. And, you know, it's a monoculture at that point, and that's the antithesis of what we're trying to stop here.
yeah. And it makes you wonder, 30, 40 years ago, who was behind this push for these crepe myrtles here?
Who's got stock in crepe myrtles? That's what I want
Yeah.
to know. Who's
Was
running
it
that scheme?
was it intentional, or was it just, pure greed on the crepe myrtle growers? But
Yeah, cherry lake. I don't know. No, but I mean, it's an easy tree, and it's cheap, and it's easy to propagate, and so like it's like a lot of the plants that we've talked about. It's easy, it's abundant, and so we just spread it, but then we don't think about, the impacts that it may have. And that's why management and, you know, informed choices are important. We talked about ginger today, but don't plant out your whole yard with ginger.
yeah,
Even
yeah,
if it's a good place, if you're just growing monocrops of ginger, that's not the answer.
yeah, for sure. All right,
But
so
yeah,
today
we
I'd
wrap it
like
up
to
here.
spotlight our friend Malachi.
Oh, Malachi.
So I have not yet Malachi yet. We've exchanged and commented and
He's a hard
liked
man to
each
track
other's
down.
videos, but yeah, yeah. Tell us a little bit about Malachi.
Yeah, Malachi's great. I mean, he's really just passionate about, what are the labels? I mean, he loves his food forest. He operates on such a small scale, and he really demonstrates how much you can produce in a really tiny space. I don't know if anybody else calls him this, but I like to call him Tree Barber, because I
I
mean, he
think
really
that's in
is
his.
just like, oh, it is.
Yeah,
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 I
yeah,
sound like our president there. Uh, but yeah, his pruning skills are really top notch. His videos are excellent.
yes,
And he travels between a site in a temperate zone and here Florida and the subtropics. So he really has kind of a diverse, even just knowledge of growing. Um, but he's really active in the community. I think you can catch him out at Everoak. Um, he works. I mean, he has. Which Instagram is this? Because he has a company too.
yeah. This is
This
Plant
is
with
Plant with Malachi.
Malachi.
I don't think it's Edible Earth Solutions. Maybe this looks old. I don't know. Y'all gotta find him. He shares all his stuff. He'll cross share on his. There's
This one's from
yeah,
March
Malachi
4th.
Parker and Plant with Malachi.
Yeah.
But I think he does consultations. I know he does like garden maintenance services when he's around. Maybe you can give him a play in a game of basketball. I wouldn't try though because our he's told me that he played basketball in college. He was pretty good.
Okay.
So I don't even try that. I don't get near the court. You don't want me out there breaking ankle.
Well, I might.
No, but he's a funny dude, real nice. He's contributed many plants to my farm, some that I'm still trying to identify, but some beautiful mulberries that he's propagated. I think that's his thing. He sells cuttings as well. Like when he prunes his plants, uses all that propagation material. So yeah, he's tapped into the abundance. He knows how to work Central Florida's climate. I think he does work in Africa. He's got friends and family over there in Gambia, so he's a worldly man.
Excellent. Shout outs to Malachi. Lots to learn. I've learned a bunch watching his videos. So make sure you go over there and check him out. It's easy for me to do Instagram. I don't know. I'm sure he's on Facebook and other places, but that's for you to go and find out. This is part of
that he is.
to do your own research there. But
yeah, he's got his link down there.
Yeah.
Just click the link, guys, and then right below it, right? Igo Family Farm. You can click that link too.
Yeah. Excellent. Got into some ginger talk today, and it's been a long day. I'm ready to go out there and water some of my new plants and smoke a joint because I need it for sure. So, Sam,
do it. Give him a long, long water, man.
Yeah. Tell everybody where they can hire you for your consultation services and more about Central Florida Abundance.
Yeah, you can check out Central Florida Abundance. If you're watching this on Mike's channel, you can see my YouTube for some garden tours and different projects that I work on. You can reach out via the links on our social, Facebook, and Instagram. They're both Central Florida Abundance. And if you're in Polk County looking to get some local produce, you can check out igofarm.com for the Igo Family Farm, where we're selling harvest boxes of everything that we're growing each week.
Excellent. And if you like this episode, make sure you do the thumbs up, subscribe. Comment down below is really the best thing. That helps with our engagement. Let us know how your gingers are. And if we missed a specific type of ginger, or again, if you have something in your food forest you can use help with, a project you're looking to get started, send us a video, send us a comment, and we will hopefully talk about it, provide some insight. And if you want to follow me, Mike at Mike's in the Garden, pretty much anywhere that social media is available. YouTube, if you're watching this, make sure you subscribe. And you can support the channel by heading to the link below, getting yourself a Guerrilla Gardening shirt or many other silly shirts. More to come. Hit this link right now. Support us. Thank you.